Thank you all so much. I am so excited to be here. You know, we have a great team at Williamson County Schools, but more than that, we have a great team in Williamson County. And listening to this morning just emphasized that to me, what a great team we have. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit as we get going. So Matt, thank you. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. To those of you who spent your morning with us, thank you all so much for giving us this opportunity as well. As I get started, I do want to introduce our board. We have 12 board members, which actually is the largest board in the state. We have some of our board members here with us today. Nancy Garrett, if you would please stand and wave. Nancy is our vice chair of our school board. Sheila Cleveland is here with us. Sheila, in the Brentwood area. Brad Fiskus, another one of our board members. And Jay Galbraith is here with us. And I believe we've got all our board members that are here today for me to introduce. So as we spend some time talking about schools, traditionally here in Williamson County, we would have a lunch. And Dr. Snowden and the superintendent in Williamson County would spend some time talking to you about our brag points. And guys, I've got them. I'm going to give you some brag points. I can't help it. I'm going to give you some brag points. But when I get started here, I really want to emphasize first a thank you to you all as an organization. And as we go through this, I think you're going to see that I'm really working my way up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So if you're not familiar with Maslow's hierarchy, I invite you to pull that up on your phone and look at that. So we're going to start with that base level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and thank you all for something that you did for us last year. And I'm talking about feeding ourselves, that base level. When we work in serving our students, we have to cover that scope of student needs. And last year, Dr. Looney presented this slide to you. I don't know how many of you were there last year and remember this, but this slide was a representation of our starting teacher pay in Williamson County compared to Middle Tennessee and a number of other spots in the state. And you saw that starting pay was $37,500. And as I was sitting in the audience, I literally saw some jaws drop. Some of our business leaders thought, wow, is that true? Is that where our professionals are starting? And I know that many of you thought about the cost of living here in Williamson County, and it struck you that that's just really unbelievable. Well, you all did some incredible things over the course of this past year. We made a big change, and I want to thank you for that. We took a really big step. So our county commission funded $12.9 million additional dollars for our teachers. And I'm just talking about our teachers here. They also funded additional pay for our classified positions that Dr. Snowden was talking about, for those support positions as well. But this was an incredible, incredible gift that the county commission and you all as business leaders gave us, so that we were able to raise our starting pay from $37,500 to $40,150. And we talked about the need to compete, right, with Middle Tennessee and other parts of the country for teachers. But for me, it's more about giving our professional teachers a professional living wage so that they can work in that profession. And I think this is a great first step, so I really want to thank you for that. And you see my bullet point there that I do believe this is a paradigm shift for our county commission. We had slowly gotten so far behind our neighbors that we were having a hard time competing, and the commission recognized that you do need to respond to market conditions. And so I'm so excited about where our county commission is headed and recognizing the need to compete and to make sure that we take care of our teachers. And you see my last point there. Matt Largent was instrumental in your leader and your servant leader in talking to our community about that, and I have that quote up from him because it is an ongoing process. Our neighbors are continuing to compete. Nationwide, we're competing for teachers, so I do want to thank you for that, with that basic thank you. I'm working my way slowly up that Maslow's hierarchy, right? So I'm going to start with some challenges that we have. Growth is a true realism for us. We are at about 41,000 students right now. We're growing fast. In the past 18, 19 years, we have doubled in size for Williamson County Schools. Get your arms wrapped around that. Doubled in size in the time that our students have been alive, our seniors have been alive since they were born. That's pretty incredible. We're going to average about a school a year, new school a year in growth. We're opening up a middle school on Hempeck Lane next year. We have a couple more elementary schools on the books for the next couple of years. That growth is coming, it's continuing to come, and it's a challenge for us. Staffing is a challenge for us. This year we hired 410 new teachers. That covered growth, that covered retirements, that covered the occasional teacher moving out of state. And you all see this next bullet I put, Tennessee is a teacher importer. I want to emphasize this to you. I'm so excited to have Tennessee Tech here representing the colleges here in this state. Our college and universities are aware of this. Tennessee is growing so fast that we are not producing enough teachers at the college level for us to be able to fill our classrooms today. So we are recruiting outside the state right now to bring teachers in. And I see some nods from some educators in this room. Now, what I see in our colleges and universities is that they're starting to hit it. I know that MTSU, that Austin Peay, Tennessee Tech, all three of those institutions, I have personal knowledge that they're taking some really good steps towards filling that need. But what we also know is that for a teacher to get into the profession, number one, they need to want it, right? They need to want to be a teacher. And we also need to give them that wage, give them that professional income so that they can do the work. So I'm excited about where our future is headed for that, but I wanted you to know as business leaders that continues to be a challenge for us in Tennessee. So many things are dynamic in our community, especially in Middle Tennessee, that is something that's going to be a good challenge for us to face over the next few years. In Williamson County, if you're a parent, have you ever called the bus garage and say, "Where's my bus?" I don't know. So, but we still have challenges with bus drivers. We actually have enough bus drivers to fill every route, but we're still short on bus drivers. So every time I speak, I want to invite you as business people, if you know somebody who's retired, somebody who's thinking, I want to do something good. I want to do something good for children. You can get up early, you can run around, you can play a round of golf in the afternoon, get back to driving a bus as school lets out. So I do want to invite you all as business leaders, when you hear of stories like that where somebody's looking for something to do, let us train your drivers, let us train our drivers, let us train your friends, and get them to serve that need in our community. It's a continuing issue. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. What's the next step above physiological feed yourself needs? Anybody looked it up? Safety. Safety is an issue for us. We're covering the scope of our student needs here in Williamson County. And I just want to give you one quick example. Y'all, vaping is a big issue. Those of us as adults, maybe when some of us were really, really small children, we remember that there were TV commercials for cigarettes. It's been 50 plus years ago. I don't remember them. But what I do know is that our community across the nation got their arms around that years ago, and that stuff stopped. With vaping, we're behind the curve when it comes to students in vaping. Educators across the state, and I'm convinced across the nation, are very worried about this, and this is a big safety issue for us. And so as part of my presentation here today, I wanted you guys to get a glimpse of that. And Carol Birdsong, I know we have a quick public service announcement that we worked with the Sheriff's Department to produce, and I felt it was worth showing that to you just so you can see at that low-level safety issue for Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we are working to meet those needs of our children. So Carol?
Hello parents and students, I'm Deputy Cooey.
And I'm Deputy Bryant. And we're here to talk to you about a problem that's affecting our schools in this county and across the nation, and that is vaping.
The use of e-cigarettes and other vaping products is on the rise among teens. These products, which sometimes look like USB devices or flash drives, are being used by our students at home and on school grounds.
These devices are more potent and more addictive than you might think. One Juul pod contains an entire cigarette pack's worth of nicotine.
And students who are caught with vaping products on school grounds will receive a citation and possible suspension from school.
We also know that some students are using vaping devices to ingest THC, which is the active ingredient in marijuana that gets you high. Beginning this year, every Williamson County Schools SRO will be equipped with a cannabis test kit.
This will allow the SRO to instantly test for the presence of marijuana or cannabis on any vaping device, food product, or anything else suspected of containing THC. If caught, the student will face charges.
Students, we care about you and we want you to succeed. So please, say no to vaping.
And parents, please talk to your students about the horrible consequences that can accompany this habit.
Together, we can make a difference.
As Dr. Snowden talked about, we work well with the Sheriff's Department. It's an example of our community partnerships that we have. We work well with you. Everyone in this community is supporting each other when it comes to those basic Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But now it's time for me to do a little bragging. I can't help it. So district accountability. The state tests us, and we think they should. And we actually think that the state testing program is pretty good right now. What we're looking for is some longitudinal data so that we can track our students as they grow. And just like Dr. Snowden mentioned, I want to celebrate our reward schools. We had 28 reward schools this year. This is the most ever. And I felt like it was important for you all to get a little grasp, at least a small grasp, of what they mean by reward schools. And they measure achievement and growth. Those are the two big factors. I've included some other smaller factors. I won't rattle through them all, but I have them up on the screen. Attendance, English proficiency, graduation rate, ACT score, AP classes, etc. are part of how they measure, especially our high schools. Dual enrollment and dual credit, those kinds of things are really growing, and they actually include at least a portion of the measure there. And I'm excited that they do that because those are the things we're focusing on. We're trying to open those doors for our students at that level 4 Maslow's hierarchy of needs so that they find success, so that they see that they can grow, so that they see improvement. And as part of that, I wanted to show you some scatter points related to Williamson County schools compared to the rest of the state. So this is a scatter plot that shows every single school district in the state. Your vertical axis measures growth, measures students' growth. The horizontal axis measures student proficiency. That star represents Williamson County schools in this year's TN Ready test for ELA, English Language Arts, grades 4 through 8. And one of the things that I think is great about what's going on across the state that I've learned from my peers in these last few months that I've been the superintendent is every one of our superintendents in the state recognize that every student can learn. Every student can grow. I'm excited about what's happening across the state. I'm excited to see other schools start looking to growth and looking to improve their students. I do believe that in Tennessee there is a rising tide. I do believe that all those ships across the state are going to continue to grow up as we improve our services to students across the board that Dr. Snowden mentioned. But I can't help but brag on what we're doing here. And it is because of who came before us. It is because of our teachers in the classroom. It is because of parents helping. It is because the business community supports us, that you're making sure that we have those basic needs met so that our professionals can do what our professionals are capable of doing. And so it's so wonderful for me to have that opportunity to talk about that. If I mention ELA, what else do I have to mention? I got to mention math. Look at that. Another example. We're growing and we're performing well. Growth is important. You cannot continue to perform well if you don't grow. So we are so excited about where we're going as a school system here in Williamson County. Now, I've switched over. Carol Birdsong told me that I needed to add some color to my presentation, so I got a couple colors in there. We got some blue and red. It's not as exciting as David's, but I got to be about that data. So what we did here was create some bar graphs showing Williamson County students compared to the state level. And I think this is a nice visual for you to look at. This represents, again, English Language Arts grades 3 through 8, the percent of students that are on track or mastered that the state shows have achieved what they need to achieve. And then the red bars represent statewide. So we're so excited to see that. I will tell you the state is growing. But I'm convinced and I'm excited and proud that because of the generations of work that have led up to us, we continue to be a state leader. And I'm excited about where we're going as a state. I do want to point out to you that the state does measure what they call subpopulations: Black, Hispanic, Native American, economically disadvantaged, limited English proficient students, and students with disabilities. And I felt like it was important for you to see that graph. And one of the reasons, again, we're so successful is because that matters here in our community. So thank you for that. Next graph, you're going to see some similarities here. High school, English language arts, you're going to see some similar bar graphs there, right? We're so excited that we're doing so well across the board. T and ready for math, grades 3 through 8, same thing compared to the state level. And I want to point out some of our what they call subpopulations compared to the state average across the state. Many of our subpopulations in these categories are outperforming the state all students category, and that's incredible. It's a credit to you as parents. It's a credit to our teachers and the work they're doing and ensuring that all students can grow. Next brag point, high school math. You see similar bar graphs. We're so proud of what we're doing. Social studies, same thing. And I want to mention now, as we're starting to go from level 4 of Maslow's hierarchy of needs to level 5. And somebody shout that out. What's level 5 of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Self-actualization. Thank you, Dr. Farmer. Self-actualization. What we're talking about is students finding success and then reaching their potential. And this bar graph represents our advanced placement course trends over the past few years, basically the past 9 or 10 years. And I want to point out a couple. One, the enrollment line, of course, has continued to grow as we give more offerings. The exams taken has continued to grow. And you may notice that that red line comes really close to meeting that blue line now. One of the things we've emphasized to our students who are taking those AP classes is take the test, give it a shot. We're not worried about whether you're going to make it or not, whether you're going to get a passing score. We want you to give that a shot because it's going to open doors. It's going to give you some experience. So we're so excited that our teachers are emphasizing to our students, hey, take the class. Take the class, take the test, see how you do. It's going to give you some experience as you grow and as you go to the next step in your life. And then that green line represents exams passed. And Dr. Allen pointed this out. You see that 7,362 AP exams were passed by our students. Dr. Allen mentioned a number to us as he did a little math. Let's operate under the assumption, and this is close, that a course at one of our state schools cost about $1,200. If every one of those students who got a 3, 4, or 5 on an AP exam were able to get credit at a state school for those classes, that equates to about $8.8 million in tuition. Now the reality is students are choosing particular courses, students are choosing different career tracks, but to us that's an incredible number. The amount of money we've been able to save the families. And we also mentioned Columbia State and the 2-year degrees that we've opened the door for in the past years. So one of the things we're trying to do is help our students reach that self-actualization while still saving their parents money and saving them money as they head to that next point in their lives. So I'm going to give you some detail. We have 37 different discrete AP classes that are available to our high school students. And you see the list: English, Math, Science, Social Studies, World Language. We also have introduced in the last couple of years an AP seminar research program. And we have found that a lot of liberal arts colleges really emphasize, whether it's a freshman writing class, those kinds of classes, that this seminar class really gives our students a leg up if they're taking that AP seminar. I also want to mention that we are doing a lot of work with Columbia State and MTSU for dual enrollment and dual credit classes, giving our students that opportunity to get that leg up on college. So I want to thank you for that. And I know Tennessee Tech is working with some of their nearby districts doing those same kinds of things. We're so excited about how high schools and colleges are starting to develop that close relationship during the high school years. And we see that trend nationally. We're very excited about that. And I want to point this out especially. This year, in our second year of having our online school, and it's actually a program that we have for every student in our high schools can take online classes. We have 1,300 high school students just in year 2 taking one or more online classes this semester. One of the things we heard from our graduates 2-3 years out was that they were hitting some snags in college because a lot of their college courses included some online work. That maybe they're communicating online with their professors, that they actually have to turn in projects online through the computer systems that the colleges have, or that they're actually taking a full-blown class online. And frankly, it was a gap. It was a gap in what we did. That while we were preparing them instructionally and academically, they were hitting some logistical challenges as students with the unavailability of that online class, the online class from us. So we've opened that door. One neat thing about this is many of you have heard the discussions in our community the last few years about school start times. If a high school student says they want to sleep in, they might schedule it where they're not taking a class at school the first couple of periods of the day. They might sleep in and do their online work at night. So it's one of those benefits that you don't really plan for when you're planning your programming. So we're very excited about the growth of our online school. More high school opportunities, and we're working our way up. College, career, and technical education. You guys have heard a lot of neat, innovative stuff over the course of this morning, and it got me excited, and I want to give you just a few facts related to what we're doing. Now the state now calls it college, career, and technical education. We call it CTE, they call it CCTE. And I'm going to give you, in the next slide, something I think is a really neat descriptor of why the state does that. But you can see that 55% of our total high school students enrolled in a college and career technical education class last year. A third of our seniors actually graduated with what we call an elective focus. Now, Kari Miller mentioned that briefly. The state requires every one of our high school graduates to take an elective focus, which is three credits in a particular career cluster. And that includes, like we talked about, fine arts, all those other examples of a concentration a student can do. It could be actual, the traditional academic classes as well. A full third of our students are choosing that college and career path. And the great thing is we offer that scope of all those choices for our students, and we see that this is growing. And I think it's really interesting that it's growing because of all the choices we have. One of the things I'd like you to do is look at this list, if the font is big enough, and ask yourself, did I have a college major related to one of these areas? Advanced manufacturing, agriculture, natural resources, architecture, construction. I know there's some architects in this room. Arts, visual technology, communications, business management and administration. We know in most of our colleges that's the largest major, that's the largest school in most of our colleges in this country. Education and training, finance. Our Chief Financial Officer, Leslie Holman, a Tennessee Tech graduate, is sitting in the room. Hospitality, tourism, human services, on down the line. One of the things that's neat that I think we need to be working to dispel the myth across the state is career technical education is professional education. It's not that old stereotype from 50 years ago of vo-tech. That's part of it, but the technology, even in what we think of it, from 50 years ago as vo-tech, is so complex that it takes a lot more work, a lot more effort, a lot more training for our students to get that. But when a student goes into career tech, what they're doing is preparing for college. They're preparing for the work world. They're preparing for you. They're preparing to come to you. And we're so excited that we're able to give our students a leg up with all these opportunities. So let me hit the peak. Let me hit the peak of Maslow's hierarchy of needs as we finish up. You heard Kari Miller talking about that in the group earlier this morning. Our newest and most innovative CTE program is our EIC, our Entrepreneurship and Innovation Center. And I want to make sure you know that in year one, I don't think Kari mentioned this specifically, we have 130 students in year one of a program. Never before in our experience can we look back and say the first year we did a CTE program, we had 130 students sign up in year one. We're so excited about where this is headed. Kari talked about the number of students who had not taken any of those business classes up to this point. Those students who were looking for something different. I'm excited that we as a team, in conjunction with you, were able to find a way to open up another door for our students. And as I talked about the thank you that I gave before, I want to thank you again for what you're doing this year to get mentors in the classroom, in those classrooms. I know that you've been doing it. You know, it's one thing to ask from the podium for you to do something. It's a whole different thing for you to step up and do it and take that initiative to find a way to get in there and talk to our students. So we want to thank you for that. And thank your colleagues who haven't had the time to come today, but have had the time at other times to come and talk to our students. We are so excited that is off to a great start. We believe that there will come a time where, whether it's a Shark Tank invention, somehow, some way, some of our students are going to do things that are going to change our lives for the better. And we're so excited about where we're headed with that future. And y'all, I'm talking about self-actualization, where those students get that base of knowledge that they need at that elementary level, at that grade 3 through 8 level. They learn ELA, they learn math. They get the best we can give them, and then they work their way up, and we open the doors to something they love, and we give them the tools to actually succeed in something they love. That's what we're aiming for. The reality is we're covering the scope of student needs. Sometimes we're feeding students. We got to give them a safe place to live when they're at the school. We need to find ways to meet their needs in many ways that parents aren't meeting them in certain areas. You all are doing great. There's other parents who are struggling meeting the needs of their children, and we as a school system are finding ways to fill those needs. But then when it comes to that coursework, we're giving them success. We're helping them see opportunities to succeed, and then ultimately our goal is to help them find ways to self-actualize as they grow into adults. And one of the things we've seen with the people who've come before is we've reached that point where the train is running and our students are coming back to our community and keeping this community vibrant as we grow. And I want to thank you for that work. I want you all to know that we recognize the importance of what we're doing, the importance of what we're doing to help you in your business so that you can raise your children, and hold us accountable. If there's opportunities for us to improve, I want to ask you to tell us. And I tell you, our parents aren't afraid. I've learned that. Our parents are not afraid to share. I do want to continue to invite you to share ways to improve as we work together as a team to help our community be all it can be. So thank you very much.